Welcome to the Welsh Woodman Workshop, and in tonight's project video we're going to have a go at wood turning this gnarly crotch piece of oak into a nice decorative bowl. Now, a little bit of a channel update for my regular viewers. As some of you may know, I've been launching a project video every Friday for about a year now, and I really appreciate my subscribers that have followed along. I've had a massive career change and have decided to become a full-time art and design technology teacher at a local private school. This job is really a dream come true for me, as it allows me to pass on my passion for woodworking, wood turning and design to teenagers, which will hopefully really inspire a new generation of designers, wood turners and woodworkers for the future. And it's really exciting working there at the moment. I've already introduced a green woodworking program which we're going to be starting next week. However, that will mean that I'm going to have slightly less time in this workshop to make project videos. So I'm going to try and make as many videos as possible and post them when possible, but it probably won't be once a week as it has been for the past year. If you're new to the channel, please feel free to subscribe and hit the bell icon so when my new videos come out, you're going to get a notification. So a little nice story behind this, and we'll finally get onto the practical work in a second. This piece of oak was actually taken from the school grounds that I'm currently working at, so I thought it'd be a nice keepsake for the headmaster to turn a decorative bowl for his office desk. And I thought I'd make a video to go through the entire process as a little souvenir to go along with the bowl as well. So I hope you really enjoy. Right, so we've got our crotch piece we're going to be working from. I can see some spalted pieces in here already and some honey fungus by the looks of it in this piece. So we're going to get the bark off, get this mounted up to the lathe, and we're going to get this turned. Quite excited for this one. Now this piece is pretty rock hard. It's going to be a challenge to turn. So we're going to be using a faceplate to attach this. So I found the rough centre there. I'm going to put it over the faceplate. Now we're going to need to drill some pilot holes to take these metal sheet screws. Now I found these work better than some of the thinner woodworking screws, and they really last a long time. So I'm going to drill the pilot holes around this. And we just got a little impact driver just to make this quicker. Just want to make sure they're nice and tight and flush to the surface. So we're going to attach the faceplate onto the bayonet fitting of the VB36. So this is a bowl lathe that's specially been designed for turning larger pieces. And we're just going to tighten that up with the spanner, and that should give us a nice strong grip. Right, so we're going to be using a powered respirator to help protect our eyes and lungs as we're turning this. And the bowl gouge we're going to be using to do 95% of the work of this has a Celtic grind on it, so like a 55-degree grind, wings ground back, and it will help us remove material really quickly. So I've got the tool height set along the centre, so I'm cut along the centre line, so the tool rest is adjusted to that height. Let's try and turn this on then, see how this is going to spin. So this is turning probably around about 2000 RPMs. So body position, tool handle down nice and low. Taking light cuts to get this into the round. So I'm trying to establish a solid bottom to begin with. So I've got into the solid wood now. You see that black line, that's the fungus growing through this. It's obviously been down a lot of the time. So you'll notice I'm going to keep on going until I'm blending this profile in. So a lot of this bark's going to be gone. Now, in terms of how I present my tool to the work, so if I've got my flute to the gouge, so this ground section, I can either present it open, which will come down like that. If I want to take more material away, I sort of close the gouge. I'm cutting along the wing more then as I'm closing the gouge. We need to be careful at this point in closing the gouge, because we can sometimes get airlog as we close it, it can sometimes grab in. So I would say a push cut with the gouge open until we get this more levelled off would be better. So hitting the high spots here, so we're going to move the tool rest in so we're supporting it a little bit more. Looking forward to bring this across a little bit. Right, so we've got the profile turned. I've decided to go a little bit shorter with my my jaws because I've got a more of a dovetail profile on them, a little bit of a better fit. Did a little bit of sanding. We're getting a lot of horrible sort of spalting rock coming through. We can see with bits of the end grains a bit punky because of that, and it is in these little lines as well rather than just torn out as such. So we're going to cover this with a food safe finish. Now I'd normally go over the top of this with a sanding sealer, but all out at the moment. This will sort of sink in and help bring the bowl to life. And we can decide if we want to go over the top of this in a food safe wax maybe. So having added a layer of wax and buffed it up, I'm going to put my jaws on. I always like to mount my jaws before remounting it, so I find you get a nicer hold. You make sure everything fits before you take it off, so making sure a nice square shoulder gets the edge there, tighten down. So I've got it remounted now on the chuck on the other side. Let's give this a whirl. Seems to be spinning quite nicely. So we're going to be using a 40-40 grind on the inside of this bolt. Nice easy grind to get rid of material quickly. A little bit out of balance this, so we need to true up the face first of all. As soon as the face is trued up, we can start getting rid of the middle. So I've trued up the face. I'm taking a conscious decision to do a little chamfer down so the rim blends in. So I'm just going to do a push cut, handle down, right in that bevel. Good. Start taking away some of the shape now. So that's going to be our rim. Nice thick chunky ring on this, and we want to try and get the profile now down. So I'm keeping this so chunky I can actually afford to get rid of the centre portion now. I'm going to increase the speed a little. This motion's really easy. So I'm pushing in, following the cut all the way to the bottom. I'm moving with my hips, my body, pushing in, following the cut. If this wood wasn't so rotten, I'd probably end up coring quite a few out of these, where we've got a big split through it, which makes it not the most safest of things to core out. So we've hollowed right into the bottom now, which is getting a little bit dodgy because of this crack. If you can see, got a little bit of wiggle in that. So I'm going to probably have to fasten this mechanically to make this safe to finish the inside. And I thought about doing some little dovetail keys. Now I've done these plenty of times on flat work when I'm making my furniture pieces, but never on a curve before, so we're going to try and give that a go. It's going to be a new adventure, something a little bit exciting for me as well to try new. So I thought I'd use 3 sort of bow tie or dovetail keys to hold this into place, slowly getting short as they're tapering down. Now a little tip I picked up from when I was doing the furniture making with dovetail keys or butterfly joints, whatever you want to call them, is to put a little bit of double-sided sticky tape on the back, and that'll just hold it temporarily into place as you're marking them on. Because this is on a curve, this is going to be a little bit of a challenge for me to do. I think about there looks good. I want to get it sort of square with the bowl edge if I can. And I can just lay these out equal sort of distances, so visually they look quite nice. And I've got my centre line going through the crack itself. So I'm going to have to mark these on. So I'm going to go around it with a really, really sharp pencil, or you could use a scalpel blade I've done in the past for really fine work. And we're going to start using then a chisel to carve a little section out for these so we can insert the inlays inside. So essentially these will be into the material, poke it out a tiny bit, and we'll have to round them over then to blend them in with the bowl. Right, let's see how this goes. So I've just marked around it with my sharp pencil, and I've labelled up all one side, so A on the right hand side, and when I come to fitting these, I'm going to make sure the orientation is the same each time. So I've learnt the hard way of mixing up which way these go, and it's sort of really is frustrating if it doesn't fit properly. So I'm just going to peel these off now, and I'm going to get rid of that double-sided sticky tape as quick as I can. Otherwise it tends to stick on there and be a pain to peel off if it sets for a long period of time. Then we're going to get chiselling on these. I'm probably going to have to clamp this into place to sort of secure the crack as I'm doing the chiselling, I think. So I'm going to be using a chisel and a mallet to go around the outside of the profile. So I'm putting the flat edge of the chisel against the edge of the line, so that's where I'm picking up that knife mark, which is really handy. I just want to go around the outside of the profile, and that's going to be really handy because when I come to carving this out then, I'm not going to be cutting past that point. So essentially we're severing the fibres till we get to the end of the shape we need to be, and when we come to carve out the middle section, we're not going to go any further than the boundary lines that we've just hit in theory. A little bit fiddly on a curve. Right, now we can actually lightly tap away. So we're going to fit in nicely, really securely, so it's not even rocking back and forth. That's nice tight. So what we need to do now is just go deeper. What I'm going to do is score a little line around the profile of this. As soon as I get to my required depth, I can stop hollowing then down below. I'm going to do exactly the same on the other ones. Now it's kind of really difficult to film at the moment, so sorry about the camera angle. The camera's sort of tilted on the side. we're just going to continue with this. I'll come back after I've carved them all out. So it was a little bit harder than I thought it was going to be, because this material's rock hard, number one, and number two, to carve a dovetail on a curve proved to be a little bit of a challenge. But I've got these little keys that are going to go in. They fit tightly into there. I'll just start carving the top one that way. So a real tight fit, and what these should do is help this from not expanding the crack any further, and I think they look pretty cool. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a little whittling knife to whittle the edges down, just to give it a bit more of a smoother profile, like the middle example there, and it just feels a little nicer as well, rather than having these sanded flush with the surface. I think that little tiny ridge there just adds something a little bit different to the piece. So I'm going to be carving these. So with my carving, I'm going to be working away from me, just taking off the sharp corners, taking down some of those edges, and just whittling away really until we get it to a shape that will look quite nice inside. To help me do this, I've marked around the edge where I need to whittle down to, so it'll be level with the edge as it's in the bowl itself. So I'm just going to be working away from me, nice and smoothly. Now you'll know if you're cutting it right, because the grain is going to tell you. So if it's the tool sort of slicing through lovely and cleanly, you're working with the grain. If you're working against the grain, I don't know how well the camera will pick that up, it'll start to chip out a little bit. So you'll notice with all my cuts, I'm cutting away from my hands, and I'm supporting the back of the knife with my thumb, which gives me a lot of control with these cuts. I'm really excited. I've just started a green woodworking course in school with the pupils, and they were super excited to begin last week. We did some spoon carving, so I spent several hours in the workshop cutting out some spoon blanks, but just to see the excitement on their faces when they were using the whittling knives and the hook knives to carve, and the enjoyment it gave, it was totally worth it. So I'm really excited to do more sessions in the future, and hopefully build up some really traditional skills along with some more modern techniques and skills with the other tools. Right, so I'm just going to keep whittling this until it's nice and contoured, and then we're going to plop it back into the dovetail section, and we'll see how it looks then. So all the whittling complete, and this is the sort of effect that we're getting. So it's a pretty cool tight joint in there. That should keep this nice and secure. So we're going to put a finish on this now, then we're going to glue in the dovetail keys, and we'll have a final look at this. So again, I'm going to be finishing with a food safe, a little bit of oil in the bottom. Wiping them on then. So here's the completed piece. Got a nice round sort of curve shape to this. I like the way the rim curves off to the bottom. That crack then, so the dovetail keys are really important to this piece, obviously because of the functionality and holding that large crack together, but at the same time as well adding some aesthetics in there, having a contrast in there. I loved it because it was a bit of a challenge as well. So quite a pretty bowl, especially with the spalting on the inside, brings out the character and the grain. I originally thought this was oak, as it was underneath a trimmed oak tree, but as soon as I started cutting into it, I soon realised it wasn't. So this could potentially be a wild cherry or a hawthorn tree, but I'd be interested to hear in the comments what sort of timber you think this is, because I'm not entirely sure. But we've got some nice natural edge pieces there on the rim and on the top. So hopefully this will make a nice present to the school then. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to hit the subscribe button if you haven't done so already. And if you're already subscribed, please remember to hit the bell icon, as that will give you a notification when my next video's coming out. So hope to see you in the next video. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you have a great night. Diolch yn fawr. Nos da.